8 o'clock for the training is 8 to 10? 8 a.m. until 10, the roles and responsibilities that they had asked council to participate in that, and then we'll be moving on with the retreat, and we will be providing lunch. We'll be eating right here Friday, and hopefully we'll be able to do it right in conference room. So, and it will be a public meeting. Public will be invited.
Until the meeting?
8 to 2.
It's 8 to 2.
So
we may finish sooner, but I wanted to schedule that time slot, and like I said, lunch will be provided. Okay. Any other discussion, questions, concerns? No? Councilmember Holtby, did you have a comment? No? So you raised your pen. I was just making sure I wasn't ignoring anybody. All right. Next on the agenda would be new business communication with the utilities, regarding utilities. Councilmember Steiger. Oh, I'm sorry. I did miss right over that. I'm sorry. So appointment for the negotiations committee. I'm sorry. 14-066, the uniform representative. So is there a recommendation for who sits on that committee? Nobody?
you're not looking at me, right?
I'm looking for somebody.
I'll sit on it, but again, only if the meetings can be held during normal business hours, which is 8 to 5.
I do not know. I have no control over the representative.
In the past, they've always been, the union people have always kind of wanted them to be business hours. But
that's what it's been in the past. I can't promise anything.
But normally, the only reason it wasn't business hours is because the person on the committee was a working man and couldn't get the time off and didn't want to waste his vacation time to conduct city business unless his fishing pole was getting done. So.
And I asked Amy to pull the ordinance, and it doesn't specifically restrict the mayor from sitting on that committee. It also has the finance committee, the one making a recommendation. So we've already missed the vote on some of this. No less than 6 months prior to the termination of the City Pacific Labor Agreement, the council shall appoint a representative from a list of candidates compiled by the finance committee, and such employee shall act as the city's representative in all phases of negotiating a new labor agreement. Additionally, the city council may appoint a committee of 3 council members to form a team with the appointed representative alternate. This was originally written when we were using an attorney for negotiations, so I think that's where the finance committee comes in, is finding somebody that can do the negotiations, a professional, and then working with the council committee. But nowhere in here, it does very specifically call out that before entering into labor negotiations, the representative will meet with the council to get very specific guidelines based on the city's goals and needs. And then after every meeting, they'll report back to the council and the mayor. So I know that came up last week was if Leanne could do it. She can. Congratulations. I don't mind serving it. I'll do it if Leanne will do it.
Councilmember Page.
Yeah, and if we do it during normal business hours, it probably allows Chief Cochran to sit on it as the administrative representative.
I'm sorry, Roswell.
As an administrative representative, and the department historian for negotiation purposes. Then it wouldn't impact his, after hours, which is why I'm sure he probably didn't want to be on it.
So, do we need 3 council members?
We're allowed to appoint up to.
Up to 3, yeah.
I don't know that we want to get crazy with it. I mean, we don't want to have 3 council members and the mayor and a bunch of that. So I think the finance director would be
right.
important to 10.
Correct.
And as long as we have 3, it allows for an odd number for voting purposes.
Well,
there's no, you don't really vote on things in the negotiation.
Yeah, you do, you vote on whether to
Tentatively
make a
agree.
recommendation
Yeah.
to the council to accept the contract.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, the committee doesn't take any final action, but they
No.
make recommendations back to
Right,
council.
right. So it's not really a vote, it's that we get a consent, we can't be voting on it. Councilmember Walker?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
If, everybody else wants to back out of it, I would do it, but I was negotiating on the last contract, so probably some fresh meat would be better.
Well, we've got 3 remaining.
Well, I wanted to make sure, because there's been a strong opinion in the past regarding, the mayor sitting on the committee, and that's why it was looked at. I have no problem sitting on the committee, I would just want council's recommendation for the committee.
I think myself it's unfair to put the mayor in that position.
Any other comments from council? We were just in discussion, we don't even have a motion on the floor.
So is there any problem with me sitting in as the clerk?
It kind of complicates everything. I think when you're in the executive session, when they're talking about the things that come out of the negotiations, is a real good opportunity for somebody to get their feet wet on negotiations. In my personal opinion.
You certainly cannot have a quorum.
Right.
Oh.
I think Leanne, it worked really, really well last time, with Leanne being in there, so it was helpful. I felt helpful.
Was she the mayor at that time?
Yes.
Half and half. Councilmember Holton.
I just wanted to remind council that council has the authority to, select anybody for this negotiating committee. It doesn't have to be a council member, it doesn't have to be the mayor. Council has that authority. If you want to choose the mayor, that's council's decision.
Or an attorney, if we wanted to hire somebody just, or, I don't know if there exists, I'm sure with enough money, you can find anybody to negotiate contracts for you, it doesn't necessarily have to be an attorney, so.
The last time I hired somebody, it only cost us $27,000.
Something like that.
Well, and I think Leanne and I kind of talked about this last week, is, I'm gonna kill her name, but Lane Bartucci, I think her name was, she looked at the contract last time, and I think it would be helpful, since she's familiar with the contract, to talk to her, and I don't wanna bring her as a negotiator, but, somebody that can look it over when we're done, or, take a look at it at certain points, and not negotiate it, because I don't wanna spend another $27,000, but it'd be nice to have a starting point and have somebody look over it at the end.
I agree. I just think whatever group goes in there has to have the power to bargain, the decision-making ability, and based on direction from the council, and then, having a legal review at the end is fine, or to bounce a question off, making sure we're not in violation of FLSA rules or anything like that. So,
So, is there a recommendation from council for who this committee should be for the negotiation? Is there a motion or recommendation?
I'd move to appoint Vicki Case, Kevin Walker, and Leanne Geyer to the committee.
Second.
Would you like to speak to your motion?
They're willing, able, and available, and a good balance of experience and good blood on the council.
Councilmember Knudsen?
I agree with Josh.
Councilmember King?
does that mean you guys would be available for meetings during business hours?
Yes.
Yeah, it would take a little finagling, but I can be available.
I'll make it closer to the.
It'll be towards the end of business hours, probably, or the beginning of business hours for me, but. Okay.
Any other discussion from council? Comments? Comments from the audience?
I don't mean to be never done it. That's just my 2 cents.
Any other comments from council? Do we need a roll call vote on this, or a motion? Okay, seeing no other discussion, all those in favor of the negotiating committee to consist of Councilmember Case, Councilmember Walker, and the mayor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Roll call?
Councilmember Steiger?
No.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Halsey?
No.
Councilmember Cade?
No.
Councilmember Knudsen? Aye. Councilmember Putnam?
Aye.
5 votes.
So I would say that was not passed. That motion failed. So is there another motion to be made regarding negotiating committee? We need to have a negotiating committee.
Wasn't Richard's name mentioned?
One.
So, I mean, he's,
I can make a motion, if Clint's willing to. Myself, Clint, and Richard be the negotiation committee for the contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, Councilmember Cade?
Yeah, I think John makes a good point. I think he still needs to be available. Okay, so if he's not in a decision-making capacity on the team, he at least needs to be available for consultation by the committee. And I think he's right. I've never seen a mayor negotiate a contract before. Usually representatives of the mayor negotiate it, bring it to the mayor, and then the mayor presents it to council. This is unique in that council's actually negotiating the contract. That's new to me, but, so I kinda agree that the mayor probably shouldn't and should sit back and wait and see what product comes out. Give us guidance, budgetary guidance to go on, and then have the chief available for consultation for historical issues. And then, you know, clearly we need someone with the finance background there to crunch the numbers for us. And then I think a good senior council person with a lot of experience on the city and the way the city's operated in the past and can provide historical perspective. And again, I'm obviously willing to do it as well.
Who seconded that? Was that you, Councilmember Snyder? Or Councilmember Halsey, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah. Typically, finance directors in the past have been on the negotiating. One of the reasons that the mayor is not on there is because you're also their boss. And as such, by keeping the mayor off the negotiating team, it keeps you out of the line of fire.
Councilmember Steiger, did you have a comment?
well, you know, so that's nothing against Leanne, but I just don't feel it's fair to put her in that position. Not only that, but her employment by working for a union as well, that gives her, sometimes possibly there could be some hard feelings between her decisions. But again, I myself, I was on the last committee. If nobody else wants to step up, I'm not crazy about being on, but I will do it. But I don't know. That's where I'm at.
So the motion is for Councilmember Steiger, Councilmember Cade, and the finance director, right?
And Richard,
Okay.
So, the giving Leanne cover piece, that's not council's job, for one. We're different than Auburn. I mean, Mayor Lewis, and previous mayors would never, with a staff of hundreds of people, would never negotiate. We have 3 department heads, 2 department heads, 2.5, no offense, Ken, but an interim public works director. We're short-staffed, and to spend money on an attorney doesn't make sense. So, Leanne's experience, she does have the union background, which has worked to our advantage in the past. I know one of the reasons this ordinance is in effect is because previous administrations had union background and the negotiations didn't go as well as we'd hoped, and we spent a lot of money fixing contracts. So, I think the last couple contracts we've done with, Leanne's been on the committee, have been lucrative both for the union members and the city. They've been great contracts, in my opinion, maybe because I was on the team as well, but, so that's just my 2 cents. I think the last time we negotiated this contract, Clint, if I remember right, you had to step away for part of it, right?
No.
Oh, I think you had problems or whatnot, so.
But like I said, I'm not crazy about doing it because I was on the last one, but I think then let's see how this vote comes out.
I would just hate to see Vic left alone and somebody else coming in halfway through trying to.
The only reason I didn't include you is because you said you can only do it at the end.
That's my strong preference.
Otherwise, I don't have a problem with Clint stepping down and you stepping in. But I do like the idea of the mayor not being the primary negotiator of the contract, because the mayor is responsible for administering the contract.
Any other comments from council? Comments from the audience? So the motion on the floor is the negotiating committee be made up of Councilmember Kate.
I do have a comment.
Okay, Councilmember.
A question. So Trent, would you be interested
You're gonna
in
amend
place
it.
of in place of Clint if I make an amendment?
I really don't want to.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Clint. Like, I really didn't want to do it in the first place, but Leanne and I have worked well.
Well, I'll leave the motion to stand.
Any other questions from council? Okay, the motion on the floor is the negotiating committee to be made up of Councilmember Kate, Councilmember Steiger, and our finance director. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
You're funny. Okay, that was fun. All right. Next item on the agenda